Open your mind.
Good evening, everybody. It's Open Your Mind Radio. It is Sunday, the 21st of February in the year 2016, allegedly. If you're listening to this on a future broadcast in the 25th century, hey, it wasn't half bad here at this time. Anyway, I'm back. I am back. And yes, I know I was missed, so you can stop sending all the flowers. I got them all, and thanks very much. Anyway, yes, it is OYM Radio. It is Sunday, and it's just myself, Stephen George, here at the moment. Well, I'm going to be joined by Sean Maguire from People's Internet Radio. Was supposed to have Mick in as well, Mick from Liffey Sound FM, but alas, Mick had a family emergency, so Mick will not be joining us, but we do hope his little lad is going to be okay. Anyway, there's no point in me playing the jingles, the communication channels, because there's no way of communicating with me here this evening by phone. If you want, you can log into oymradio.com and onto the chat box, and you can put your questions or your comments in the chat box there. I will be monitoring that, and also the People's Internet Radio chat room as well. We're going to be monitoring that one also. So, there we go. I'm not sure if that audio was a little bit low, but I'll just kind of give it a little bit of a tweak, and hopefully that's a little bit better. Now, what shall we say? First things first, I just have a couple of little announcements just to go through, and just kind of a couple of things that I noticed over the past couple of days. One being Mary Lou MacDonald from Sinn Féin. Seemingly she was tackled. She was in O'Connell Street, and she was tackled by, in inverted commas, a concerned citizen, and he was giving her a bit of a lambasting over Sinn Féin and their tax, and this guy had a little bit of a rant and a rave. It turns out that he's actually a brother of a Fine Gael politician. I can't remember the chap's name. I should have written it down, but I didn't. And I think we've seen a lot of this before at previous elections, where people were coming up and they were just kind of doing their little PR spin, but then it turned out that they were related to other people in other political parties. So shame on you, Fine Gael. And actually, speaking of Fine Gael, anyone who's on anti-social media, the likes of Facebook, I can't speak for YouTube or Twitter because I don't. I can't speak for Twitter or what's the other one? There's another one out there as well, Instagram, and there's probably loads more, but which I don't do. I do Facebook, and that's about the size of it. But I have noticed over the past couple of days that Fine Gael, every time you're on Facebook and you're kind of scrolling down, there's all these little ads popping up, videos and things of Fine Gael. So I mean, they're obviously they're spending some amount of money infiltrating the anti-social media. And what else? YouTube as well. I have noticed that every time over the past couple of days when I've gone to watch a YouTube video, before the video will actually play, there's something like 90 seconds of a Fine Gael party political broadcast where they're kind of saying how good they're doing, and you know the country is really on an upward turn and we're doing so much better, according to them. But I suppose when you actually look at the facts and the figures, it's the bankers and, you know, people kind of on the top of the food pyramid, if you like, who are doing better. But the likes of us, mere mortals, on the lower end of the scale, it's not us that's doing better. We're still getting fleeced. And what else? Just in relation to Sinn Féin as well, seemingly journalist Paul Williams was on the Late Late Show on Friday evening, and he's on record as saying anyone who votes for Sinn Féin is most likely a criminal, a drug dealer, murderers or terrorists. Now I think that was in very bad form, but it just goes to show, and we've always said this in OYM, that the mainstream media here, especially RTE, they are a mouthpiece for the government, and what better Gombian to get on than Paul Williams? I mean, he's a crime correspondent. I mean, if there was no crime in the country, I think Paul Williams would have been out of a job long ago. But yeah, he's on saying about Sinn Féin, and he's obviously saying it because the government are obviously getting concerned that maybe Sinn Féin are starting to look more favourable for, I don't know, to the electorate. What else? Water protest on Saturday, the 20th of February. That was yesterday. Again, as per is to be expected with RTE. They can't ignore it anymore, so they've done another little segment on the news. It seems there were in and around 80,000 people there, according to the event organisers. And I think RTE reported there was 5 people there, and only one of them was at the protest. The other 4 were just kind of blow-ins or something. But no, I think RTE actually said a figure of about 20,000, and the organisers say in the region of 80. So again, as I said before, a lot of people are still not going to pay. They've no intention of paying, and just because they can't get out on the particular days and go to the protest does not mean in any way, shape or form that they've given in to pressure and that they're starting to pay. That's not the case at all. It's just some people have more time than others, and they can afford to go out on the Saturday and do the protest, and fair play to them, more power to them. They're really kind of sending a message to the government, and again, even at that, I think the government are still kind of, they have to be afraid. And there's actually, who's your man, that Alan Kelly? He's been very quiet. I haven't heard a peep out of him over the past couple of weeks. I'd say because it's election time, he's probably doing what the rest of them are doing, where he's putting on his little puppy dog face and he's practicing in the mirror, so when he goes out, knocks on doors and people will pity him. Poor Alan, we'll give you a vote. But actually, my darling wife was saying to me there only the other day, and I'm only saying she's my darling wife because she's sitting here beside me. She's on the chat room. She's logged in as OYM admin 1. She's pretending to be Alan. No. Yes, she's pretending to be Alan. No, she's not, she says. But she's just kind of watching the chat for me there. She's getting her teeth into it. But she said, of all the people who've knocked on the door around our area, Padder Tobin, I'm not sure if it's Tobin or Tobin, I'm not sure, but he's the only one who actually took the time to knock on the door. He represents Sinn Féin. The rest of the people who were, represented, should I say, on the doorstep were Thomas Castles, I think his name is, from Fianna Fáil, and this another chap, Damien English from Fianna Gael. And Ray Butler as well, the Bell Ray Butler. Yeah, they sent their minions around to canvass on their behalf, and none of them, knocked on the door. And probably for good reason too. But my wife had a great discussion with one of them at the door. He just wanted, give was it Ray Butler? Ray, yeah, can you give Ray your number 1 vote? So normally she would just take the leaflets off because they always call at the most inopportune time when you're getting the dinner or you're doing something else anyway. But she had a couple of minutes on this particular evening, so she took time out and she said to the guy, well, hang on a second, what has Ray Butler ever done for us in this village? And the guy says, well, he's done so much for, and named another village, Kilmessan. And she says, right, we're not in Kilmessan, we're here, what has he done for us? And he says, well, what would you like him to do? Well, she says, she named off a couple of things that we could do within the village. And sure, I'll go and I'll have a chat with Ray. And she says, yeah, I think more words were kind of passed between the two of them anyway. But we all know pre-election promises, everything that's said, and this is from everybody. Pre-election promises, it's kind of all done with crossed fingers behind your back. But what else? Last thing on my little list here is I've seen this during the week, and if this comes to pass, well, we'll never know about it. But in Australia, seemingly they're talking about forced vaccinations via chemtrails. I'm not sure if it's a bill that's up before the government or the parliament, or if it's just an idea. But there is talk that maybe forced vaccinations via chemtrails, and if that happens, even if it's only on a kind of a temporary basis, then chances are it'll be done all over the world, and we won't stand a chance. They will definitely wipe us out, and that's it. We'll be gone. But there we go. Right, that's kind of all I have on my little list. I would say, hi Alan, how was your week? But I think I can speak for Alan and say he has had a busy weekend, because we were supposed to go down to the Pain Genie seminar in Kerry this weekend with with a few other people. But as it turned out, I couldn't go. Work got in the way, and I couldn't go. But Alan still went down, and he was on his way up today. And from what I heard, he didn't sleep too well. Now, of course, knowing Alan, he probably didn't sleep too well because he was up talking half the night. I'd say he probably had talked the ears off a lot of people, but I'd say it was great. I'd say it was one of those conversations where you wish you were part of. Anyway, that's out of the way. Again, peoplesinternetradio.com is the chat room there that I'm monitoring, and OYMradio.com, that's our own website. If you log in there, you will see the chat room on the left-hand side. Anyway, that's out of the way. Right, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Mick from Liffey Sound FM can't be with us this evening, so we also, well, not we also, but we also have Sean Maguire from People's Internet Radio on. So, where are we? I'm just going to say Sean Maguire from People's Internet Radio. He's an all-round good guy. He's a poet, and he's also a presenter on People's Internet Radio. Good evening, Sean. How are you?
I'm grand. How are you, Steve? Good to be here.
Well, it's good to be above ground, Sean. Anyway, but yeah, as I said, you're a poet and you're an all-round good guy. We've known about you kind of on the scene for a long time. I think you're one of the few people, or one of the very few people who it could have been maybe 3 or 4, possibly 5 years ago, there was an event in Mullingar. I think it was in I can't remember the name of the hotel. I was going to say the Headford, but that's not Mullingar. But I met you down there, and you're just a fantastic guy. You're so well clued in on a lot of things, and you know I've heard some of your poetry, and I don't know why you're not on the circuit, really going around and doing your poetry, because it's powerful stuff. It really is.
Thanks very much, Steve. I sort of am, in a way. I do gigs when I'm asked. So I'm not on the literature circuit. I don't think my stuff is, the frisky fox going over the babbling brook and stones in my pocket and talking depression about death and stuff. But, maybe people are copping onto it, because I've got a festival booked there now. Good Friday weekend, I'm down in either Waterford or Cork. I think it's in between the two, actually, out in the country for Scrobanock Festival. And even as far away as August, I think I'm already down on the list for the Rebellion Festival, fingers crossed, over in Blackpool. So in between that, sure, hey, you guys book me, I'll come and do a gig.
Excellent. So you are getting around. Not just, the way sometimes you often get these emails from, the likes of, say, the Helix Theatre in Dublin. I often get emails from them saying, here's people who are going to be on. And you're looking at the list going, I have no idea who these people are, and I genuinely haven't a clue. And I'd love to see someone of your calibre, on a show like that, filling an arena of what maybe 500 people. Because I say, sometimes there are people in life, Sean, who are very confident and outgoing people, and I would put you in in that category. Where I'm not a very confident, outgoing person, and I wouldn't be able to stand up on stage and do anything for that matter. But you seem to have you come across so relaxed, like it's a natural flair, and I'm just wondering, was it always like that, or were you ever kind of a shy, reserved person?
I don't think I was ever a shy and reserved person.
No.
Slight is all my life. No, I've been outspoken. I mean, I was doing gigs of poetry. I'm still performing now, back in Thatcherite Britain. I remember when David Icke came on the scene. First of all, that was a bit of a kick in the teeth for me, because every time I'd be doing my show in a pub in between a couple of punk bands or something, somebody would shout out, "Who the feckin' hell do you think you are, David Icke?" So. I wish I was filling Wembley like David Icke is these days, but I obviously stayed doing my thing and keeping my, keeping my powder dry on certain levels and just continuing to do my stuff. You know me as a radio host from Out of the Bag on a Wednesday night.
That's right, yeah.
But I didn't even want that. It was me as a performing poet on one of Vin's shows over 5 years ago that took me that route. But I'm very, very happy to be on People's Internet Radio. I think it's a fantastic place to be, with brilliant, brilliant people doing wonderful things. So how lucky I feel, to be able to do that. And it has also enhanced, I suppose, the type of gigs I do. I do end up doing sort of, if somebody's going to do a talk and there's a few different people coming to talk about different subjects, I'm often lucky enough to be, the bit of light-hearted entertainment in the middle or whatever.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, when did you discover, Sean, that you actually had a flair for poetry? I mean, is it something that you always kind of knew, or was it just something that developed?
Well, my mother tells me that at 9 years old, now I can't actually remember this. Now, 9, I remember things that I did when I was 5 or 6, but she reckons that I had a big rake of poems and that I had enough, and I went out the back garden and made a big bonfire and I set light to them all. So after that, I had a bit of a talking and a dressing down by my mother, who reckoned my poetry even then was worth listening to. She liked it, but then she's my mother. Okay.
Yeah. Irish mammies.
Yeah, I just continued to write poetry and always have done. It's been, I suppose, coursing through my veins. I'm not like somebody who writes constantly. It really does have to be after an experience, after a sort of a, I can write there could be a year in between me writing one poem and another.
And what like, I mean, as an example, what would it take for you to what would inspire you, say, to write a poem? I mean, would it be an event that happened either in the mainstream or, in the world, or would it just be something that happened, like a personal event in your life? Well, I mean, where's the inspiration come from?
Well, I think a bit of both, because I was a very, maybe a mixed up kid, but I definitely just thought, who the heck is running this show? Who is in charge of this mayhem and insanity? And why are we all consenting to it? And, yes, I'm 50 years old now, but I'd be saying, do you want to hear a poem I wrote when I was about 9 or 10 years old? It would probably put you in the picture as to what I was like. It's not in my book or anything, and I'm wondering if I can actually remember it now I've told you.
Well, you're going to have to, because I've just got the nod from my co-pilot here. She wants to hear it. Okay,
I mean, I suppose it shows where I was at when I was 9 or 10 years old.
Right, so before you do it, we're going to have to remember that this is a 9 or 10-year-old child who has come up with this and who's writing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
I suppose that's the way to put it. Okay, it's called How Long, and it goes like this. Good morning, brand new day. What future do you hold? Are you going to shed your warmth on my body that is cold? Can you shine your light upon me or cry those tears of rain? But we know those tears will never wash, 'cause we've got it wrong again. We put it down to the weatherman and we blame it on the climb, when we all should know it's you up there giving us a sign, saying live in peace and harmony. But you know we never will. Our world revolves around who's best and who next do we kill. Fighting over blades of grass and whose beliefs are right. Diplomacy is left for dead, 'cause all we do is fight. We have medicines to save lives, but we take them just as fast. With hypocrisy as rife as that, how long will man last?
Wow. I'm actually amazed you knew what hypocrisy was at 9 years of age.
I was fucking surrounded by it. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, that's it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting that that's the sort of stuff you're writing at 9 years of age, and you wanted to put it on a bonfire. I mean, what sort of stuff would you be writing now? I mean, when you see the likes of, we just kind of have a quick kind of travel through time, the likes of, say, 9/11, world hunger, the way the governments are forced vaccination, all the stuff that's kind of going on, say, in the past couple of years. Could you take anything out of that? Like, I mean, have you written anything about what's going on today, like politically?
Of course I have. I mean, people who listen probably on people's internet radio now, they probably have heard them all before, do you know?
Yeah.
I can give you one about the global issue, and I can give you one about the Irish issue, if you wish, or both.
Yeah, well, let's just kick off with the Irish one, because, I mean, just, because we're in Ireland, and I know like people are listening globally, but I do know we have a lot of listeners both on OYM and PIR in Ireland. So yeah, just kick off with the Irish one and see where that goes.
Okay, well, this poem has actually been heard a lot because people have actually put it on YouTube and all sorts when I've been performing it out there. I was even at a homeless project thing not too long ago outside the Dáil, or the Royal Oireachtas as we call it on People's Internet Radio, and I performed it there, and somebody actually recorded it, I think, put it up and thought I was a homeless person saying it. But I think Vin put that straight and managed to tell people, actually, no, he was just supporting the people who doing that. It's called It's Time for a Revolution. And it's quite simple, and it goes like this. If the banks are criminally banging on your door, and the only crime they pin on you is the class bullshit of being poor, and the sheriffs, bailiffs and Garda are just acting corporate whores, I think it's time for a revolution. When we get together, and we learn to be wise, and that system comes attacking in its varied forms of disguise, all we have to do is never recognize. It's time for a revolution. The controllers of our nation say that economic eviction is necessary to save the banks. Do you see the contradiction? And looking after their interests seems to be their predilection. I think it's time for a revolution. They write the statutes, change the laws, and they breach our constitution. It's affecting families' homes like a form of sick pollution, and nowhere in the future do they deserve any absolution. Do you know what? I think it's time for a revolution. There
Excellent. Excellent. You're getting a little round of applause in the background. Speaking of revolution, do you think there will be a revolution, Sean?
There is one. There is one already. It's a peaceful, educational, informational revolution, I think, that is going on right now.
Will it work? I mean, I know they say, do everything peaceably, but is it having? Do you believe it's having an effect?
I really do, because, I mean, there are more good people than bad on this planet, and it's only the few that spoil it for everybody else. And the same way as they, have I'm not into this political correctness. That's actually a way of them continuing with their, I suppose, psychopathy.
Agreed, yes.
Yeah, I think we have to call a spade a spade. If someone's being an asshole, point him out, point her out. They are being an asshole. They are doing something wrong. Now, if every single human being on the planet, and we are one consciousness in the end, if we all turned around and just pointed out the wrong and supported the good, the immense changes that will happen would just be incredible.
Yeah.
That's my...
No, I think you're right, but you know the way you kind of, you see people who start to do that, and then it's like you would see a wrong and you point out the wrong, but for every one person that seems to point out a wrong, there are 10 people who will jump on the PC bandwagon. No, you can't say that, and it's like you try to be independent and stand out from the crowd, and the crowd seems to want to police you then. And it's so difficult.
Steve, I might offend a few people by saying what I'm about to say, I suppose, but I'm going to bloody say it anyway.
Here we go. Go on.
Well, let's look at the fact that we are mass consciousness, that our brains are a receiver and a transmitter. If one starts to comprehend that is true, then we realize how many people are controlled by fear, doubt, and guilt in whatever religion they are in. Then one realizes that 3 billion Christians in a mindset of negativity and I am not worthy and someone else is the deity that will look after me, not on this life, but when I die, then that is an absolutely massive attack on a perfect mass consciousness. If all the masses go into their masses, bless them. And then you have every single other religion. I want people to stand up in their communities, in their environment, in their sovereignty, wherever they may be, and be human beings. No religion, no cultures can even affect that. We can still keep our loves and our passions and all the rest of it, as long as that one universal rule that I think every single religion portends to state, and that is that we should harm no one, that we shouldn't harm the land that we live in, the sea, the sky, the star. I mean, this is our, I suppose, temporary place of residence. and we're passing it on to our children. And how dare we pass them on the evil that is going to put them into slavery and debt and living in fear and guilt and the violent side of things. I mean, a lot of people want to hang these politicians from the roof and all that type of stuff. That's only going to allow the fascism and the I suppose the army, the militarial side of things, to step in and say, hey, we're sorting out the violence in the most violent way.
Yeah, I mean, that has never and will never work when you have violence trying to, sort out violence. I mean, it's ridiculous. So it's like, well, if you're being violent over there, we're going to be violent towards you, and that'll make it go away. It doesn't. I mean, it never has, it never will. War doesn't solve anything. I mean, at the end of the day. But I mean, as regards the religion, I have to agree with you on that, Sean. Now, I'm not a religious person, but I was up to a point where I used to be dragged to mass, and then when I was old enough to make up my own mind, I was given all the reasons why I should go to mass. But at a very early age, I used to question a lot of stuff as well, and I have to say, the more I started to question stuff, the more I moved away from religion. Now, I mean, I would be kind of I'd probably class myself as kind of spiritual in a way, maybe spiritual-esque. And I don't even know if that's the right word. But the organised religion, from what I've seen and from what I'm not going to say studied, because I haven't actually studied it, but from what I've learned or gleaned over the past maybe 30 years, that it is, as you say, it's there to control. And this whole business of, you should go round and repent, spend your whole life repenting and going round on your knees because you're going to be rewarded in heaven. I mean, I don't get it. What's that about? I mean, it makes no sense.
And I always argue, and I do argue with my family, with Christians, with people who say these things, and I say, look, let's use your words. A bit like how we're going to change the judicial and the political structures in this country, the very same we need to be doing with religious indoctrination. I say to them, look at the Lord's Prayer. Listen to the words of the Lord's Prayer. I'm not religious, but you are. And you say this prayer every week, maybe more than once a week. Maybe you do the rosary and you say it loads. Our Father, okay, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, okay. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. I'll leave it there. There is no tax in heaven, allegedly. There is no violence and paedophilia. There is none of this crap going on. There are no wars and homelessness and all the rest of it. Sure, that line says we should be creating on earth as it is in heaven. Then cop the heck on and let's do it, shall we?
Yeah, unless of course we're going to be told that there's wars in heaven. But again, you know yourself, depending on who you talk to, some people will say there is a heaven, and some people will say, well, no, there's no heaven, and that maybe the heaven that we all will experience is the mass, as you mentioned earlier, the mass consciousness. And maybe but then again, that makes perfect sense. If we were all to be, I mean, okay, let's just say every man, woman and child in the world, this is just kind of coming from a scrambled mind, every man, woman and child in this world, and let's just say because of all the distractions and all of what's going on and everything that goes on in the world, everyone is kind of vibrating on maybe a slightly different frequency. But maybe if we were all to, as you say, cop the hell on, and we were all vibrating on the same frequency, then Jesus, that'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it just? And don't call me Jesus, they nailed him to a cross.
Well, you could be next.
My humour. Listen, I've written a prayer. Do you want to hear it?
Well, we'll have a show of hands in the audience. Yeah, they all want to hear it.
Okay, very well. The one of her. Thank you very much. Steve's missus. What's her name?
Her name is Barbara.
Barbara. Pleased to sort of say hello, Barbara. And listen, I do want to say as well, much love and I hope Mick's son, Charlie, is okay. I think he had an asthma attack, and I really do want to say, look, our love and best wishes to him, and he's in the right place looking after his son, not talking shite with us,
Yes, because we are talking shite.
He's put his priorities.
No, as I always say, family first. Everything else comes second.
Absolutely. So look, I wrote this prayer only because people, I suppose back then, were sort of asking me, too. Okay? So it goes like this. Let's start again and get it right. Work by day and sleep by night if we're to win the greatest fight and change the world we live in. The here and now, it's all we need to act as one and all take heed and end the days of hate and greed. For past indiscretions, we're all forgiven. Light the torch to guide our way and lead us through each single day, and from the truth we'll never stray to change the world we live in. The good we do, it'll shine right through with every action that we do, and love, sure it'll brighten up the view as this earth becomes our heaven. There you go.
Yeah. Oh, nice. And just out of curiosity, and I think I already know the answer, but I'll ask the question anyway, is there maybe a little book of poetry that people, if they were interested, I mean, you've kind of whetted some appetites here tonight, I'd like to think, and if people wanted to maybe get a book or, maybe DVD, is there anything out there?
Well, absolutely there is. I'm very lucky. I mean, I actually went around, my show is called Out of the Bag. The reason it's called Out of the Bag, Steve, is because I actually went around doing my gigs with just a rake of poems in a bag. And people would pull them out as pages. That's how I met Vin. He met me in Waterford at a gig and pulling out various poems from the bag. And then being on the radio, because I was after that incredible interview I had with Vin and Mike Stevens way back, I was performing a few of my poems in between my guests, or if the Skype call went wrong or something like that, fill in the gaps, fill in the time, etc. And people did ask me, could they buy my book, and all the rest of it. And I'm like, I haven't got a book. So actually, with a very, very nice listener from Donegal, who now lives in Germany, he helped me to get this book on the go, and it's called A Selection of Poems Out of the Bag by Sean Maguire. It's available on my website, which is www.outofthebagradio.weebly.com. And if I go to gigs, hopefully I can sell them then. I always carry about 5 or 10 with me. And I'm forever going out and performing a few poems, even on a one-to-one. And I was only having a cup of coffee the other day in Galway and sold 2 whilst I was having a cup of coffee. So, that's how I survive, as they say. And I've actually, just to let people know, we're having a hard time. So if you want to donate to Galway, to People's Internet Radio, please do. And also you can donate to myself and my show and what I do on my website as well. So have to mention that. So yes, there is a book. The first poem you heard isn't in it, but the other 3 are.
Excellent. I just want to make a quick apology to people who may be on the chat room asking me questions. I'm not really reading the chat room. I do apologise because I'm concentrating on listening to what Sean is saying. And a typical man, I don't multitask well. But if there is any important questions, my secretary has said she will scribble them down and pass them over to me. But anyway,
sorry to interrupt you there. I have actually scrolled back into the chat room while you were saying that, and Mike Linney is in the chat room. Hi, Mike. I had him as a guest with Mike Gavin and Eileen as well on my show not too long ago, and they were having a peaceful protest outside the solicitor's office in Mullingar. Just to let you know, there is another one coming up on the 26th of February. So that's when's that? That's next Friday, is it? I think.
I think it is it?
That's Day, in fact, is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the voting is on Friday, and Friday is the 26th. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. So on Polling Day, so there'll be plenty of people mulling around in Mullingar. So it says, please mention Michael Gavin and friends are having another peaceful protest outside Robert Maron Solicitor's Office, Castle Street, Mullingar, on February the 26th, 10:30 to 5 p.m. And thank you to all who signed his petition. And I'll give the position. It's on www.mikegavin83.com/petition. There you go.
Okay. And is this a solicitor who's involved in house evictions?
This is a solicitor who is basically involved in the theft of tens of thousands of euro off a very old man who he thought he could scam. And yes, land is involved, and a farm is involved, and a will of a brother is involved, etc. But you can get all the details actually on MikeGavin83.com.
Okay, that's worth checking out, MikeGavin83.com. Yeah, okay. Just kind of changing it ever so slightly, Sean. The upcoming elections, speaking of elections, that is going to be happening next Friday, the 26th of February. And look, we all know what's happening. We all know that they're going around and they're promising the sun, moon and stars. They're all, as I said earlier, your man, Alan Irish Water, he's gone very quiet. But what do you think is going to happen? I mean, from your perspective, what you see on a daily basis down where you are, what do you think is going to happen come election time? Do you reckon it's going to be, how will I say, a democratic election, or do you reckon there might be a little bit of sleight of hand going on? Maybe it's going to be tight, but the Fine Gaelers might get back in. How would you see it going?
Well, how can I put it? I mean, look at the dirty tricks that Royal Television England, or RTE, are purporting and as news. When a news reader who should just be telling the news gives opinion, that gets out of the remit of a newsreader. They should be told, the people listening to the news should be told, actually, this is based on somebody's feckin' opinion here.
Yeah.
And the dissing and the fear-mongering of Sinn Féin, I think is disgusting and despicable. I think it's absolutely dreadful what they're doing. I think that if it's not fixed, then sadly the amount of mainstream media propaganda and brainwashing through the television and the Irish press, like Irish Daily Mail, Irish Star, Irish Sun, yeah, they're Irish papers, aren't they? Anyway, the brainwashing is dramatic. I stood and spoke to a Social Democrat canvasser who told me how fantastic fluoride was and that I was insane for thinking we should remove it from our water, Steve.
Really?
Yeah, really.
And I'm guessing did you laugh at them, or did you try and educate them?
Well, he actually laughed at me whilst I told him about the research that exists and about the many, many people that have campaigned in this country and in other countries, how it's banned in so many European countries. Why would that be? And he said, I have the science, I have the research. I said, you are welcome on my show anytime you wish to present that. Right,
so he'll be coming on this week, so will he? Or next week? Yeah, I don't think so. But it's funny because even just in relation to that one topic there, the water fluoridation, Micheál Martin, I think he's the head honcho now in Fianna Fáil. I mean, he was actually on record, and this is going back, it could be the best part of 10 years ago, where he actually came out again around election time, and he said that if people who have babies, they should not be making baby bottles, making the formula with fluoride, with tap water basically. And he actually made, if memory serves, a pre-election promise whereby if he got back into government and he was re-elected, that he would look at the removing fluoride from the water. And I mean, it must be 10 or more years ago, and still nothing has changed.
Yeah, no, look, it's the fact that we've been lied so much, and these lies have been believed by our parents, who we have to forgive because they were lied to so well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really well-oiled machine. We're not talking about Irish mainstream media. We're talking about global mainstream media manipulation, mind control and manipulation. And if people can't see that, then their distractions are also working to keep them away from the truth.
But you're spot on there in relation to the parents. I mean, that kind of goes back to a point I made earlier. Like, will we ever really see change? Because you have the likes of our parents, their parents, our parents and our grandparents who would have been around the time, when fluoride was put in the water first. They would have been fed the PR machine as to what it was good for and why it was so good. Our parents would have believed the same thing. They would have passed it on to us. But even now, you're awake to fluoride and the dangers that it can pose to the human body, as am I, as is a lot of people, most likely on say PIR chat, OYM chat. I'm sure everyone knows the dangers, but yet we still keep chipping away. I mean, I do it as well. in my place of employment, I'd often go in, and I'm known as the conspiracy theorist, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me because, sticks and stones and all that sort of carry on. But even now, I've been kind of chipping away at the likes of the fluoride and the chemtrails and stuff like that. I mention it not so much on a daily basis, maybe a couple of times a week I'd throw it into the mix. And people still don't get it. In fact, one woman, she used to kind of laugh at what I said, and now it's got to the stage where I can't even talk to her anymore, because she's making a cup of tea, and I go, Jesus, I wouldn't take tea out of that kettle, and she goes, oh yeah, why? And I said, look at the element. I said, look at all the crap that's actually on the element. And I said, and what else what's going into your body that you don't even see? And she goes, oh, here we go again. Don't start going on about this, the fluoride. And I said, well, do you know what? It is a poison, and I can show you the research. I can show you experts, and probably like the guy you met, they've been so conditioned from, I don't know, mainstream media, their parents, grandparents, that they don't want to know. They don't even want to look at the science. And as Alan has said before, if you're giving them something to look at, if they don't want to look at it, well, then that's just proving how closed-minded they are. But they won't even entertain it, like.
No, well, ignorance is ignorance, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you can forgive people for nescience, but you can't really forgive people for ignorance. And once you show somebody something, it's ignorance, and ignore what they're doing,
Exactly. I mean, look, even the likes of babies' bottles. There's I'm just going to say there's a chap that I know, and he's recently had a child. Well, his wife recently had a child, and I tried to share the information. I volunteered to give him the information, and he said no. And I said, but why? I said, if I give you the information, then you will know. You can make an informed choice on whether to use tap water to make the baby formula. And he said, I'd rather not know.
Well, this is it, Steve. Look, we're living in a situation where if people cop on to the fact that we have been poisoned for the last 40 or 50 years, and then they realise that not only that, but water is what's been poisoned, and therefore every single food process in our country is poisoned, and that affects all our food, unless we have our own well and we make our own stuff and we grow our own food and make our own food. Then if we're going to any supermarket, we must realise that this has been tampered with, poisoned, drugged water. Simple. So it's a crime on a massive scale. I've been harping, in fact, I refused to be a radio host, and the first radio show I ever had was because I said, I want to say exactly what I want, and my first guest was Walter Graham, and we did a fluoridation show, and that was my very, very first journey into doing a radio show. I was probably dreadful back then, but you know what a talker Walter is.
Yeah.
I still think people should listen to that show and listen to what was going on and how things have been going. And all these years, people don't want to know about it. They don't want to know that they're being controlled. They don't want to know that when they go to their church, they're supporting paedophile rituals, massive banking cartels, criminal wars, etc. They don't want to know that we can change how we drive our cars tomorrow. The technology exists. We do not have to be pumping petrol and oils into our cars. We do not need to be doing that, giving our children asthma and at the same time supporting and being part of a war effort. I mean, that is what's going on. Do we want to be part of that, or do we want to step away from that? I think most people, when they cop on, they want to step away from it. When you know as much as you and Alan do, Steve, and myself, and many, many people on People Internet Radio, and people listening in tonight, we can't go back. We now know, and therefore, talking of war, there is a war going on. And it's that information war. And I'm not saying InfoWars, and I don't want it to be fear porn all the time. We have solutions to absolutely everything. How do you get rid of the fluoridation in the Irish water? You stop getting a corrupt government from buying a toxic waste from the aluminium and the fertilizer industry from Holland and Spain and lying to the Irish people and putting in our water saying it's good for our children's teeth. Do you know what? If you want to give your children fluoridation, you can get your mouthwashes, you can get tablets, and you can do it your feckin' self. This is forced medication on behalf of many, many people who do not want it and do not consent to it.
That's right. I mean, yeah, you're spot on there, Sean. I agree 100%. It is, no matter what way you look at it, it is forced medication. There's no two ways about it. And when the government came out a couple of years ago and said they were toying around with the idea of putting lithium in the water, I mean, people reacted to that. But
It's worked in America, hasn't it?
Are they doing that in America?
Yeah, well, I just think that there's no way the Americans can be so dumb. And I mean the masses. I don't mean all of them. I don't mean the people that have woken up and know what they're eating, and because so many fantastic people in every country. But we know that the majority of each country has been mind-controlled and manipulated by religions and media for centuries.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that one. When you mentioned there about we have solutions for probably most of life's little problems, I would agree. And you just reminded me of a short story where I had a conversation with I'm getting pointed something on the screen. Yeah, I'll have a look at that now in a second. Yes, I remember having a conversation with a gentleman about 2 years ago, and he was raving about his iPhone. And, haven't we come a long way? He would have been one of the people now who considers me kind of an off-the-wall conspiracy theorist.
Right.
And he was talking about the iPhone, and isn't it amazing, how advanced we are technologically, so many years ago, you wouldn't have. There was, the likes of mobile phones. It was a dream. It was so far fetched. It was unreal. And he was kind of talking about the way, even music was on a cylinder, and then it was on vinyl, and then it went to tape and CD, and now it's MP3 format. It's ones and zeros floating around the internet. And I says, yeah, isn't it amazing? I said how technologically advanced we are from say 100 years ago. And I said, but yeah. We're still driving cars with a combustion engine based on 100-year-old technology. I said, does that not kind of sound a bit ridiculous? Do you not believe that we have the technology to, maybe even have the flying cars, or at least cars that run on water? And of course, you can imagine the reaction I got.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Yeah, he raised an eyebrow, and I said, don't be ridiculous. If there was better technology than what we have, of course we'd know about it. And I says, yeah, but do you not think maybe we do know about it and it's been hidden from us? And again, I got a raised eyebrow. And why would they hide the technology? I said, well, maybe the oil companies have a lot of clout and they don't want, any new technologies being brought to the surface. I said, for example, the electric car. I mean, I think the electric car has been as old as the hills, but when that first came out, I think didn't the oil companies bought up the rights to it. Is that right? Yeah.
And look, I'm the first human being in the Republic of Ireland.
You're the first one in the first human being in the Republic of Ireland
to have an electric car legal on the road of Ireland.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
You can Google it, mate.
Oh, we'll be putting your name into an electric car into the search engine. And just out of curiosity, how do you find it? I mean, compared to, I'm guessing you've driven obviously a petrol car, and what's the difference? Any noticeable differences?
How can I put it? I haven't much money. Okay, I'm a performing poet. I'm an invalid as well because I'm in pain constantly. It was something I really wanted to do, and I wanted to try and import a car that was actually, going to show people that it can be done. The car is fantastic. I actually used it for the school run on a regular basis all the way through my children's younger years. It was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant. I knew, even in the costings of things, that 5 years of running the car and I would need a new battery pack. I need one now. My poor little Ellie, I call her, Ellie Trick, is sitting out the back there needing a power pack that I can't afford to buy for it. But I tell you what, once I can, or if I can in the near future, sure, I'll be driving it as much as I can again. It was absolutely amazing. It worked out even if we paid for electricity, around €250 a year to run.
Wow.
And mine isn't one of the ones that they've actually, the suppression. Now you can only buy an electric car if it's 30,000 plus, so only the rich people can buy it.
Yeah.
Then only the rich people who are electric and I suppose enlightened and a bit savvy about things would want to. And then who did they give the contract to for the electric power points all over the country? Oh yeah, let's give it to Topaz. Let's give it to Shell. that's a great idea, because everyone would have boycotted them anyway. So I'm very lucky in the fact that when my baby is going to be working again, my car is going to be working again, hopefully, you can plug it in the 3-pin plug, just like a mobile phone.
Excellent. And just out of curiosity, when you say you knew that in 5 years' time you were going to need a new battery pack, are they expensive?
To get the battery pack for my little car would cost around about 2,000 to 3,000 euro.
Wow. Jesus,
so
you can have
that just out of my price range.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you can probably see why. I mean, then again, you probably know as well as I do that it probably doesn't need to be that price. It could probably be a hell of a lot cheaper. But
absolutely. There's lithium batteries that would give me more range. That would give me, it's just they're not allowing them into this country.
Yeah.
When I first came to Ireland and we first bought a house, we needed to re-roof our house, and I knew of a tile that people like Sainsbury's and all the rest of it are using over in England, and these tiles are solar panels. And we tried to import solar panels to roof our house, our little cottage, and we weren't allowed by the ESB, apparently.
And was there any particular reason given?
They gave all sorts of reasons, but one thing is they were never going to allow us to import them.
Right, maybe I'm missing out, but how would they know if you were,
Well, because we tried to buy them off the people that I did research. Just like I wanted to get the electric car, I wanted to, I wanted to walk the walk. If I'm going to talk the talk, that's why I have a polytunnel full of food. That's why, I'm ill now, so I'm embarrassed about my garden. But when I was fit before my car crash, I was able to do a lot of work around here. We grew our own food. I mean, even now I make my own bread for the children. We go and get our water from a beautiful well. I actually try and live how we're meant to live. It's impossible at the moment with the system, but, as much as we possibly can to be in our sovereignty is what I wanted. So I did want to be off-grid. Now, I live in an area, I know how to build a windmill, for example. I'm quite qualified in permaculture. But unfortunately, where we live, okay, Castle Hackett, the hill is just behind us, so basically I couldn't have a windmill. It wouldn't work in my location. It'll work for many other people if they listen, but not in my location, so I can't actually walk the walk with that one. But anything I could, I've done it, or at least I tried to, and we didn't manage to import the tiles back then. We were called loonies back then. That was 20 odd years ago.
Yeah, and what about now today? If you wanted to do that today, with the internet the way it is, will there be any kind of stipulations there on importing tiles?
I really don't know. I know they exist. I think it should be used. I just haven't got the money to do it. So I'm living hand to fist now since the car accident. I don't work anymore. I'm a volunteer on People's Internet Radio. And I hopefully sell my books and live as we can.
And what about, I'm not, again, this is kind of just wondering, but what about mainstream? Would there be any possibility on where you are of a local radio station where you could maybe, have a little spot there and, maybe get paid for it?
I'm too outspoken, I think. I just wouldn't let it lie. I don't think I would last very long. I think Vin and the people on People's Internet Radio and Laurie and all those, I'm not controlled. I can do what I want. I can interview who I want, etc. For example, can I ask you to put a tune on?
You could, yeah.
Because I'm actually, I usually have a wee break by now.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMIreland.com.
Just some people having a conversation on the chat room there in relation to vegan and vegetarianism, and I just said, because there's so much chat going on, I would just ask Sean what his opinion is, or what he thinks. Sean.
Okay, well, I am a vegetarian, so I suppose there's a place to start. Why am I a vegetarian?
That's a question I hate. I have to say, I hate, because I'm vegetarian as well, Sean, as is my wife, as is my daughter. And I hate when people say to me, why are you a vegetarian? I'm thinking, it's none of your damn business. But go on if you want to share it with us anyway.
Yeah, sure. Hey, look, I was a butcher's boy when I was a child. A kid going to school and then riding a bike on a Saturday and delivering meat in bags to people. So I saw, number one, what goes on in butcher shops was a good start for my vegetarianism, right?
Yeah.
The second part is, I suppose, knowing the hormones that are put in. If it was purely organic meat, etc., 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 I might revert. No, I wouldn't actually, but I can see why people might eat meat. There is absolutely no reason for me to eat any meat. Have you seen the size of me, Steve? I've got a bit of a belly on me. I love my food, and I've been a vegetarian for years.
How many years now, Sean? Just out of curiosity.
It's probably about 14, 15. I'm 50 now.
Okay, so a fair amount of time, yeah.
Yeah. And then there's, you were mentioning about being a spiritual person. I've also had sort of experiences that I suppose the only word, because words are very limiting, would be that they've been spiritual experiences. So over the years, as much as Tiger Boy saying lamb chops are so tasty, okay, I would also say that there is an ethical and a spiritual side to vegetarianism that people don't really see. One could say the same about plants, really, but the abundance, we do abuse plants, most definitely. We abuse trees, we clear cut rainforests, the lungs of our planet, for paper packaging, when we could grow hemp, etc. So there's an awful lot of vegetarian practices, if you like, that still might need a bit of fine-tuning and looking at. But I suppose to live an ideal way of life in the present society we have, don't drink fluoridated shit, don't eat GM foods, don't have anything with chemicals pumped into it, and that includes meat. There you go.
Yeah, and what about now your children? Are they meat eaters or vegetarian? Have they picked up anything from the old man? Like,
the whole family is vegetarian. They were, when the children were born, obviously they were on the boob. They were breastfed.
And that's the absolute best start in life they can get.
Indeed. I wish I'd have known more, by the way, because they could have had an even better start in life. There was many things I've learned since becoming a father that I did wrong, And this is where it is. People have to comprehend that the lies they've been fed, the lies they've been told, are forgivable. They were told lies. They were nescient of what was going on. I used to feel guilty for vaccinations, But they don't have any anymore. But, oh my God, I fell for that crap when I was younger. Okay? I was aware of so many political things. I didn't think the medical industry was as bad as it is. Do you know? Mm-hmm. So it took me a while to open up my eyes to every part of society being infiltrated, corrupted, and fucked up by these psychopaths who have controlled everything. I didn't know it was so massive. I thought there were more free people than otherwise, and I was wrong. We're only getting there now, really.
We are, and that's that's kind of the burning question that I seem to be asking myself more often. Is we are starting to get there, but if we're on a ladder, I still think that we're only on the first rung. I don't believe that some people say they believe we're almost there. We have the powers that be, the elites. We have them on the run. They're running scared, But again, when you're talking about words, that they are just words, and I don't know if we are making or having as big an impact as we're letting ourselves believe.
I see people disappointed all the time, Steve. When they, I hate the word waking up, when they become aware more things that are affecting our lives, whether it be locally or globally, they have this excitement. After they go through the anger, and then after they go through, actually there are solutions, we just need to wake people up to the truth, if you know what I mean, make them aware, and share the information. They then get very excited. I remember going on a demonstration not too long ago, I think it was during the Lisbon Treaty, so it was a bit of time ago. But anyway, and I remember 3 or 4 people who were just finding themselves, young fellas, fantastic people, beautiful, beautiful souls and spirits, incredible people, who had joined the anonymous group, and they genuinely thought there was going to be 5 million people on the streets, because how could anyone not know?
Yeah.
And what they don't realise is that they didn't know a year previous to that. And take it easy. Don't worry. Look, sorry, guys. And I went for a coffee with them before the demonstration and said, look, there'll be about 5,000, 6,000, maybe 10,000 of us in this particular demonstration. And I said, and I might be being, idealistic as well with that, telling you that. And they go, no, it's going to be tens of thousands. And I'm saying, guys, it really isn't. And I don't want you to be, having your bubble burst and going off with your tail between your legs like so many people do. I mean, I remember so many people when I was younger who had the same fighting spirit as myself and other people around me, like you guys, and they've just succumbed to the whole system and said, sure, what can I do? And I'm only one person, and da-da-da-da, and now they've become enslaved, collared and tied like the rest of them, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, it is sad, but I know exactly where you're coming from in relation to the likes of the protests. When I start, I know you don't like using the term waking up, but yeah, when I became aware of, the fact that the world wasn't the place that I believed I was living in or existing in, and I started learning, little things like fluoride, just kind of little things like that. Mm. And then I started wanting to share the information, and I thought it was kind of, to me, it was like, wow, this is fantastic. I'm only realising this now. Everyone else must know this. And then I started going out and I was telling people, and people were kind of looking at me going, what are you talking about? And no one seemed to be on the same page, and I just wanted to give them all this information that I was learning. And unfortunately, as has happened to so many people, and I don't know if it happened to you as well, but I lost contact with family members over the same thing because they thought I was absolutely going bonkers.
Well, maybe I was lucky that, when I say that I got married and I didn't know many things about marriage, how's that, registration, all that type of stuff, which I've learned since. But way back when I was younger, I think I'm very lucky in the fact that I experienced it through my childhood. It was my younger years, I suppose my teenage years and into my 20s, where I lost contact with my family through my insanity. Yeah. So I was lucky that I dealt with it and know how to deal with it now so easily, because I dealt with it back then. I didn't have to put up with that type of stuff now. Now my mother listens to my show. She's 79 years old and will listen into my show. She might, contact me if I'm chatting to her, and we chat nearly every day. And I would tell her if I'm going to be talking about the Catholic Church, so she doesn't tune in. I don't want to be offending my mother too much. But and also, sadly, one needs to, I suppose, keep a certain level with one's family, and that is maybe just to talk trivial things. I talk about football and stuff with my dad and my brothers, and this is important stuff. You got to keep your fingers on the pulse of their reality as well as one's own.
Yeah, hang on. I'm just wondering why are you giving me that look over there in the corner? The silent minority. She's agreeing with what you're saying, because when I start having the same issues with my family. And actually, as it turned out, I think certain members of my family now listen to the show as well. But when I start kind of having these revolutions many years ago, and I was running out and I was telling them all this information, they thought I was going off the other end of the scale. And I wish I had the foresight into what you've just said now, where I could kind of maybe, instead of just running up to them and going, hang on, your football and your TV, forget about all that. This is important, because that's what I was doing, and what I should have been doing, I suppose, is drip feeding them the information while still, as you say, keep my finger on the pulse of the kind of day-to-day stuff, that goes on. I go to
football matches, Stephen, with my friends and family, and I sit in the terraces, and I love a game of soccer like the next man. Because I was good at it when I was a kid, and that was part of my heritage, part of my upbringing, and how dare I diss all that?
Yeah.
Do you know? Yeah. These people who diss other people for liking what they like are just hypocrites. If somebody likes opera or jazz, I find it very odd but I understand that's their thing. If somebody likes, I'm a punk rocker, I like punk rock, I can understand people hating punk rock. Okay? We have to revel in our wonderful, wonderful differences. People say, look, if the world was all sorted, it'd be boring. No. We'd be creating so much of massive diversities of distractions at the same time that we're allowed those distractions, because we know we're not killing our children, allowing psychopaths to rule our world, and making, I suppose, greedy bastards more rich.
Exactly. And just want to touch base on when you said that, in relation to the music. I mean, at the end of the day, music is music, and people can like whatever they like. But in relation to you being a punk rocker, I have to say, the last time I met you, I think you were wearing, and I've seen you a couple of times, and I used to think, wow, it's amazing, because I think you had a black and red Freddy Krueger jumper on you and a pair of green trousers. And I mean, I remember thinking, wow, that's just fantastic. I mean, he's not afraid to just dress as he wants and just say to the world, here I am, take me or leave me.
Well, guess what, right? The punk rock, I was just very lucky to have grown up in it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a plastic paddy, as they call us. I lived in England in a time of Thatcherism, and, I was born in 65. So, by the time it got into the 70s, when I started to cop on about what was going on, Jesus, no blacks, no dogs, and definitely no Irish.
Yeah.
They're the scum of the scum. Okay, so to be who I am and to be strong and to stand up and be myself, I thought to myself, hang on a second, they're all wearing suits and ties and they're getting proper jobs and they're doing this and doing that to conform, to be who they think other people should see them as, so that they don't get attacked, I suppose, where they see other people getting attacked for being slightly different. Okay, but what we've got is what I decided to do is, if somebody can. So I've been wearing outlandish clothes pretty much since I was a child. I remember my mother, my father, on the steps of Drogheda Cathedral. I think it was in Drogheda anyway. There's a photo of me when I'm about 11, and I'm wearing a bright pink leopard spot T-shirt, black jeans, and Doc Marten boots. Right. This is in Drogheda.
Yeah.
When I'm 11. Right. So, I mean, I've been doing this all my life. And why have I been doing it? Well, if people don't want to listen to me because of what I wear, they can feck right off.
Yeah.
If people can see past that shite and then actually look at my actions and my words, then I want to be their friend. Then I want to talk to them. Then I know they're listening to me.
And just in relation to the clothes, Sean, do you kind of dress in a certain way and wear certain colours because they please you, or are you trying to make a statement?
Well, of course I make statements with the T-shirt. It's like, what T-shirt that says psychopaths rule our world? I wear that, and I'm a performer, so I perform my poetry. I've got, do you know the Subway advert, Eat Fresh?
Yeah.
Okay, how ridiculous is that? Anyway, I've got one that says Subvert, Think Fresh.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Advertising works, okay? I think People's Internet Radio, OYM, you should all have T-shirts, you should all have slogans, you should, if we had a vast amount of money behind us, sadly that's the world we live in, if we had all that behind us, we could actually control the controllers by us showing people what mind control is, showing people that we can use it too. Watch this. Did you just come out of there and you bought yourself a latte because we actually told you to, etc., etc., etc. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
We can actually show people through our knowledge and wisdom what the knowledge and wisdom is being used against people who don't know it.
Well, it's funny because when you talk about mind control, I actually watched a short documentary about, I think it was maybe Thursday night, I think it was, and it was a guy from the advertising industry. Well, I suppose it wasn't really a documentary, it was kind of an information thing, I suppose, but this guy who works in the advertising industry, he basically come on and he sat down. It was just a black canvas, and he was just sitting there in the chair, and he just basically said, hi, my name is whatever his name was, Joe Bloggs, I'm one of the head people in this particular sales and marketing company, and I just want to let you know that we use tricks of the trade that you're not even aware of, And, he just he sat there for maybe, I think it was about 7 or 8 minutes, and he just kind of showed a couple of different ads, and he kind of looked at the ads, and he showed you exactly what the message was that they were sending out in the ad, that you wouldn't even believe. Again, like, it was kind of under the radar. And he went through a couple of ads, he made a speech, and he said at the end, so if you think for 1 minute that advertising doesn't work, he said, then ask yourself, why are we spending billions on it every year?
Absolutely.
And he said it's not just to advertise the products. He says there's a lot more going on. Like, I didn't know that, the McDonald's yellow, and is it red and yellow, or whatever what is it, yellow and black, or red, yellow and red? Yeah, I don't eat there very often, so I'm not sure. But he was saying about those colours, that even the colours of the McDonald's logo, he said that wasn't just, we didn't just put those two colours together because they look nice. He said those two colours have been proven to make you feel hungry.
It's a massive, massive subject that you just brought up, really, Steve. And we go then into maybe, I suppose, looking at sigils and looking at symbolism and looking at how much they are used and powerfully used. And if you went down that route, we'd have a 3 or 4 hour show.
Well, you're more than welcome to give us a little insight. We've got 45 minutes.
Crikey. Well, I suppose I would just recommend people Google sigils, symbolism, and look into it and research it and go down about 20 or 30 pages in Google, because remember who controls our media.
Yep.
And I use the internet. So have a look at the pros, the cons, and you'll see how the Freemasons have used it for centuries, how the Satanists, what do they call them? What do they call the gangs of witches and warlocks and all the rest of them? What do they call them?
Oh.
Things with C. Anyway, look, my head's gone on that one. But anyway, groups of people. Covens, there we go. That's the word, covens.
I wouldn't have guessed that one.
They use all these symbols. They use them. And that's whether it's through fear, as you say, to show someone hungry. I was told this one, and I haven't researched it, so it's one that I would like to research. So I suppose I'll mention it. I was told that the reason when you look at an optician's shop or a shop that sells really expensive clothes, etc., like I won't give them a name, but these Ben Sherman type places and all that type of stuff. When you go to these places, in the windows, they have a butterfly. Not a real butterfly, but a toy or a painting or a picture of a butterfly. And what I've been told, and I haven't researched this one yet, I've looked at others, which I'd like other people to have a look at and come back and tell me what they think, is that this is the one, quite a new version of mind control. You're going to spend your money in here. This is one that gets people to be consumers.
Okay. I have to say, I haven't noticed now. I do wear glasses, but I can't say I've noticed that. Yeah, I will be looking for it now, though.
Well, just saying that that's what they use an awful lot in. But then when you look at children's books, I was looking at my daughter's book now. She's 13 this week. Happy birthday, Neve. And she when she was very little, I was looking at some of her school books, her national school books, and when you open them and you see, symbolism of and I'm talking about the unseen eye and the stuff that we have, it's unbelievable the stuff that's in their books. And these are children's books for the ages of 5-6-year-olds to learn how to read and write.
Yeah.
The symbolism within them are just immense, controlling our children from a very, very young age.
Yeah, and probably, I'd say half the parents out there probably don't really pay that much attention to their children's books, but say I know you're obviously well clued in, so you would see this. I suppose anyone who's clued in, if they were looking at the books, they would know exactly what's going on. But just backtrack a little bit there, Sean. I mean, if you can, if you want to. You mentioned your daughter Neve. Was Neve? I can't remember now if it was your daughter Neve or your son. One of them was following in your footsteps and was performing. Is that right? A couple of years back.
Well, they both perform, yeah.
Oh, they do. They do. Okay.
My daughter is a singer. And she's got a beautiful voice, I suppose. I would say that, but other people have told me she has. She's been on RTE, Royal Television England, singing. My son was actually, he's a bit of a star, I suppose. At 15 years old, he went off to Australia, and he was part of a children's TV show called Blue Zoo. You can check that out. So, yeah, he's a guitar singer-songwriter, plays the piano. I just think it's really, really important that people who do send their children into the education system, and people ask me, when you know about how controlled it is, why do you? I say, well, for the social side of things, believe it or not. So that my children has friends. We live very rural. We're not going to meet people in the street because there is no street. We live where the streets have no names, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So for education side of it, music, the trivium, the quadrivium, knowing about these things, knowing how to, I'm not as good as people like Vin at this. I see Vin and his interaction with his children, and I'm quite inspired, and I would like to aspire to that. He's got a wonderful, wonderful relationship with his kids. When my children do things wrong, I tend to react, I'm quite an outlandish person, bless them, but they're used to me by now. But they know when I'm angry, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
His passive language, his use of passive language is amazing. But yes, we need to teach our children outside of school, because at the moment, school education is going out of its way to desexualize people, boys and girls. They actually want to get rid of the words boys and girls, believe it or not. They want to split up the family unit as much as possible, take away as much respect from the parents as they possibly can. I can see it happening. Why do you see all these children talking to their parents in such an evil and horrible way? This is genuinely going on. This is programming, not education.
Yeah, well, I've seen that exactly what you're talking about the lack of respect for parents. I noticed that, Sean, about maybe two, possibly 3 years ago. And it was on. We used to have Sky TV. Don't have it anymore because we copped on. But there was one of the channels on there. I think it was the Disney Channel, and there was a program on that. And I'm going out on the limb here. I think it was called Zack and Cody.
Okay.
I think, and in this particular program, all the children seemed to run the whole show, really. And anytime there was a parent on the screen, it was the parent always kind of done something silly or stupid, and it was like as if the parents were the children and the children were the parents. And even on those shows, the children had very, very little respect, if any at all, for the parents, and they kind of spoke down to the parents. And I thought it was just my imagination, and my daughter used to watch this, so I watched a second episode, and it continued on. It was a case of, the very, very little respect for parents at all. They were kind of there to provide the money, and the kids were there, and they knew it all, like. And I could see that slowly happening in my house here, in my home. And I remember at the time, I took my daughter aside, and I think she's 15 now, so she would have been maybe 13 at the time, and I said it to her, and she fought me. No. It's a good program. But then we watched an episode together, and she could see it. She could actually see it because I had pointed it out to her, and she could see it. But yeah, she was kind of going down the same way, lack of respect for us as parents. And again, that was just one particular program, and I'm pretty sure there's a whole heap of them that are on today, and that's just television. But yeah, I mean, as you said there about the school system as well, I didn't realise that they were trying to remove the labels or the tags as boys and girls. I mean, but I suppose it makes perfect sense. I actually heard a couple of weeks back that there was I don't know where the school was. I think it was in America somewhere, that some of the school books that they were using to teach was kind of, how would you say, it was encouraging, or it was kind of leaning towards homosexual behaviour.
Exactly. I mean, that's really important. Look, if there's a depopulation program out there, and we know that fluoridation is a depopulation program as well. It's been known in proper research that I think it's after 9 generations, and I might be being a bit generous there, that the males would be sterile. after fluoridation. We've had it for 40 odd years in humans. And there's a lot of people who are struggling to have children, put it that way. And then what better depopulation program than to program people to think that they are homosexual or lesbian, and therefore they are not going to be having children, are they? That's another depopulation program. Now, here's where the problem lies, is that there are naturally homosexual people born. Yeah. Absolutely. And they should be respected and treated well and all the rest of it. But there is a mass populace now, I know it, I don't just think it or feel it, I know it, that they are genuinely trying to push this homosexuality being cool. And you said about the clothes I wear? Yeah. I get chatted up by gay people a lot, okay, because they think nobody in their right mind who's heterosexual would wear those clothes. Right? That's their misconception, yes? So when they say that to me, and genuinely, it comes to a point where they're saying, you are. You just don't know it. I'm going, well, where the fuck does that come from? I know my sexuality. I know me. Is it because you don't know you? Is it because you're having difficulty with it? There really needs to be some sort of comprehension that this massive indoctrination has been taking place over the years. When we were children, think about all the very, very camp children presenters, male ones.
Larry Grayson.
Oh,
there's one that comes to mind.
He was a comedian, but loads and loads of presenters on children's shows. Not just family shows, which did have an awful lot, but I mean, and people would say, well, you're pointing that out because you're homophobic. Well, no, not at all. I've got plenty of friends who are gay, and I love everyone, not in a gay way. Do you get me? Yeah. It's really important that we understand that our sexuality has been attacked for many, many years. It's now, through common purpose and Rothschild-funded, Rockefeller-funded education systems. They want to depopulate the planet. If you don't have a war, have a load of people who think that their careers are more important. They need to have that first. And then they spend their time chasing the carrot and end up not ever having children. Then you get that was years ago. Now you have the situation is that people think they are gay when they're not. And that stops. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, it's a biggie. I know people can't get their head around it. It is because I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm heterosexual, always have been. I've never had a gay thought. Not that I don't understand how women fancy men, let alone how men fancy men. Yeah. Actually, do you know what? It's very funny. Well, it's not very funny, but this is one of those things that's funny to me. Both my wife and I, we have a friend who's gay, is openly gay and has been for a hell of a long time. And we were on a night out with the job that we used to work with. We used to work together many moons ago. And I was having a conversation it was a kind of a nightclub, late bar, with this particular chap. And I remember, obviously there was a couple of drinks involved. And no, it's not going where you think it's going. There was a couple of drinks involved. And I was just having a chat with him. And at that kind of time, where my head was, I used to think, if a gay man, I used to think that a gay man fancied every man, in that kind of way. And I remember having a chat with this chap, and I said to him, we were kind of having a conversation, and he put me straight, and he said to me, well, let's put it this way, he says, no, it's like you wouldn't fancy every woman in this bar, would you? And I said, Jesus, no. And he says, right, he said, I wouldn't fancy every man. I said, and the fact that there's probably very little gay men in this bar, he says, is worse. But he says, and I said to him, well, would you go for the likes of me? And he said, I hate to disappoint you, he says, but you're not me type. And I was offended then. I says, what the hell is wrong with me? And he said, no. He said, look, that's just the way it is. He says, I will be attracted to another man, but he said there's certain signs and symptoms or signals, that will indicate if he's a gay man. But again, maybe there's the problem where the problem lies. Maybe the ones that think heterosexuals are giving out gay signals when they're not. They're the fake ones. Yeah. I think, maybe. I just think that there is so much control. Look, there are loads of people that might go out and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. How thick are they? How controlled are they? If they knew the truth, they would never be doing that. No. Speaking of voting, Sean, and I don't know if this is
somewhere we want to go. But if a person doesn't vote, do you believe that if they don't vote, does it matter, or does their vote or their lack of vote, does that still count as a go to the government? Because people used to say that to me: if you don't vote, then your vote goes to the government.
Well, I don't believe that. If you're registered to vote and you don't vote, I don't know what they do with their statistics and their lives. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you're not registered to vote, put it this way: if it's a bit like mathematically perfected economy. You've heard of that, yeah?
Mike Montagna, yeah.
Brilliant. So MPE, it will not work in a nation unless the whole nation embraces it. Okay?
Yep.
That's the flaw with something so perfect. It is perfect, and it will get rid of usury and debt and all the rest of it, but the nation has to say, we're going to implement it. You can't just implement it in one town or in a village, or it doesn't work. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, the same with voting. If we all vote, then it works, because they can't control that. They hope that so many people won't. And if we all don't vote, so it's a case of, yeah, the ones that don't vote, they're dead right, I see exactly what they're saying, come out of the system will fail, blah, blah, blah. Yes, if everyone did that, wonderful. Same with people who vote. People who vote, really, isn't it a shame that everyone doesn't vote? Because if everybody voted, we might get to the stage where they can't rig it because it's so feckin' obvious who we would all vote for and who we wouldn't.
Yeah, I can see your point. But again, I don't know. I mean, I remember, was it about maybe 2-3 months ago, Alan actually, he got so disillusioned, he got on to I don't know, whoever he got on to, and he wanted his name taken off the register. He said he wanted to deregister from the system. And I think he went through the motions, and they sent him back a letter. And it was kind of strange because he wanted to deregister from the system, and we all know what register is and what deregister. But what they did was they sent him back a letter, and the letter just said, "Okay, you've been removed from the register of electors. You're no longer residing at your home address." And I think they wanted to know where do you reside. I think they asked where does he reside, because he said. They assumed that because he was deregistering that he wasn't living in his home anymore, even though he is. He just said he wanted to deregister from the system. Again, you probably need Alan on to fill in the gaps. I'm only kind of picking up on the bits there. But yeah, I mean, if everyone was to deregister, then it would be an interesting situation. But then again, if everyone was to register and vote unanimously for a party or a system that was going to give them everything that they required, and by that I mean the likes of, say, I think it was Article 48 back into the Constitution. But then again, depending on who you talk to, I mean, a Constitution is just a piece of paper with loads of words on it. I mean, that was a show. I would have loved to have you on that show, actually, that we done a couple of weeks back, where we were talking about the power of words and constitutions, and the fact that there is a Constitution, and we're happy to say, we don't want the 1926 Constitution or the 1937 Constitution. We want this other Constitution. We want to be kind of controlled by a piece of paper.
Well, you see, we've got to realise that things are incremental, and just as we wake people up or make people more aware of what's really going on, I think we have to, realise where we are in the here and now. I and my wife, we need a car. Can't afford to get my electric car back on the road, so we have a little Toyota Yaris, and it gets us from A to B because we live in the country and we need it. So I am still pumping shite out of the back of an exhaust. I am still stopping at a fucking garage and filling up with petroleum and supporting a war and a dodgy corporate. We are in that situation. Here's where the bloody PC people get off, and here the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael and all the rest of it, is that they know we have to live within that system until it changes. So they are hanging on to the change never happening, because there's not going to be enough of us to stand up and say, we're not taking this anymore. So we have to realise where we're at, where we are, and deal with it. So I suppose we're in a situation where until 166 brave souls go, maybe with 1,000 people each, go to their Garda station and report crimes against our country, which would be the fluoridation, because it's drugging our nation, okay? If that's the case, that's when we will have amount of movement in any direction, when there's enough of us en masse to make a massive difference. And that isn't an awful lot of people, but 166 TDs in the Dáil are criminals, because they are all, whether they like it or not, complicit in pretty much 90% of the crimes that are happening to and in our country.
I agree. But, I mean, again, just to kind of go back to what you're saying about if people were to go to the local Garda station and report these crimes, we've heard of situations before where people have gone to the Garda stations and they have reported these crimes and other crimes, and they're laughed at in the Garda stations. But that's why we need to organise. Now, I was talking to Vin not so long ago, and I said to him, look, everyone who joins a group, joins a gang, everyone who joins a party, everyone who puts their flag on some mast somewhere, has been labelled and easily dealt with by this real psychopathic system. So what we need to do, and there are enough of us around Ireland, is to have all the sovereign individuals who do not... people, you say I'm on People's Internet Radio. Well, I am, but I'm not belonging to the gang that is People's Internet Radio. I am a human, sovereign, piece of human flesh that is trying his best to do and share as much and learn as much as I possibly can. Now, we know how many of us are around the country. There are thousands upon thousands of us who don't want to join Sinn Féin, who don't want to join the IRB, who don't want to join a gang, who don't want to join a religion. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm, yeah.
These are the true revolutionaries. These together can actually go in and Joan said, I thought I was in your crew. We're all family, Joan. There's a difference. You are part of the family of People's Internet Radio. We are all here together. But are we not going to open the doors and let more in? Of course we are. Are we exclusive? Are we saying socialists are bastards and Tories are this and that? Well, maybe if they act that way and they're in power. But as an individual, as a human being, are we doing right or wrong? And that's what we've got to stand up and be counted as. I think we can have a revolution, a peaceful revolution in this country by getting 166 times 1,000 people to go into their Garda stations all around the country. They're going to have to listen to that.
Yeah, I'd like to agree. I really would. But just to say that with a lot of these people who are maybe listening to us this evening and who are maybe going to go into the local Garda station and report a crime, if you do, seemingly the rule of thumb is don't leave until you get a pulse number, because if they just kind of fob you off or take some details and then send you on your merry way, those details just go straight into the bin.
I'm actually saying people don't do it yet, please. Don't. Let's organise. All the ones that want to, come on to OYM and tell them. Come on to PIR and tell them. And let's get together and let's at the same time, on a day, at the same place, go to every single Garda station in this country that's still open, go into them, and report a crime with 1,000 crew with us each.
Yeah, it sounds good.
It
does. And just seeing Joan is even saying there she wants you to get your ass up for election.
Yeah, but listen, I can't be a politician, Joan. I'll be in the Dáil going, you lying bastards! No, sorry, I couldn't. But there are people who are. There are, Garrett Weldon, I think his name is in Dundalk, Ben Gilroy, many people in DDI who would possibly be independents if it wasn't for them getting organised. I don't agree with a Swiss model. I want it to be Irish. So I think DDI should, totally disband and start a brand new party if they want to go into party politics based on a lot of the same concepts and ideas. I certainly love Ben Gilroy and Johnny Squires and all those people. They are fantastic, amazing, amazing people. Heroes in my book. Really are.
Absolutely. Your book and my book, Sean. Absolutely.
Brilliant. I'm glad you agree. These are the people that will change our nation. And if we had all the independents, and I don't mean the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael ones or the Renua ones that have been, there to take the piss, and because of their fear, probably a quarter of the independents that are up for election are actually Labour, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, etc. So we've got to be careful who. Let's look at the people and what they do. And we know Ben Gilroy and his work. We know many, many people around the country and their work. You know, the people in Cork doing fantastic people, Dermot down there. You know, there's loads and loads of fantastic people around this country. They are the ones that we need to say, okay, you are actually there because of us, not because of you wanting to be there.
Exactly. And I mean, even in relation to Ben Gilroy, his work, as you say, his work speaks for itself. You just have to go onto the internet and type in the man's name. And I mean, look,
I met him down in Cork. You know, I've come out of a court case. You know, I'm helping somebody else, or at least being there for moral support. And there's Ben in another court, in fact in Cork, when he's from Dublin or whatever, or Meath. You know, he's all over the country doing amazing, amazing work. And obviously, I reckon anyone who's listening to this radio show has already heard of him. If they haven't, do what Steve says and Google him.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, look, if you haven't heard of Ben, I mean, you just look on YouTube, or anyone looks on YouTube, and you see the videos of Ben standing up for the common man. I mean, you type in any other politician's name, type in the Taoiseach's name, type in Enda Kenny standing up for a local household or a farm owner, and I guarantee you won't find any videos.
Exactly.
You know, I mean,
in fact, all you will find is somebody like Pat Kenny. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's a familial affection. Standing up in a bloody TV station, apparently supposed to be, you know, impartial, not letting people speak the truth and only allowing the Fianna Fáil, Fine Gaels and people towing the party lines of those groups to be able to speak properly. Unbelievable, disgusting behaviour, and if people can't see through it, then they are very, very fluoridated.
Yeah.
And that's the point about fluoridation. It is the most important, and I've been saying it since I've been on People's Internet Radio. People have argued with me. How can we possibly expect people to awaken or be aware of what is genuinely going on to them if they are drugged? How can we? That's step one. Step one, get that shit out of our water. It's in our food. It's affecting our children. In the west of Ireland, I had to sign a letter to my principal of my children's schools to say no. I do not want my children queuing up every day for their fluoride tablets and mouthwashes, as well as the drugs in our water. Because they're doing it, Steve.
Is that genuine? That's actually going on in
going
your
on
school?
in the west of Ireland, because the west of Ireland people are more drugged than anyone.
Wow.
It's disgusting, Steve. This is war. There's a war on our families and our children and our land. Yeah. Anyway, do you want to hear the poem about the global one?
Sure, why not, Sean?
I was going to do it after the other one. Do you remember?
Yeah. Right, go on. Okay. Again, anyone who's kind of late in the door, you just got myself, Stephen here, with Sean Maguire from People's Internet Radio, just kind of shooting the breeze, having a chat. Sean's going to do a wee poem for us.
Well, I'm hoping we're not boring the pants off people, and I hope they're enjoying the show. And I'm honoured, and thanks to Alan and yourself, and obviously would have been happy to have Mick here as well. But I'm honoured to be here. Thank you so much, okay?
You're more than welcome, Sean, anytime.
This poem, I obviously have performed it quite a lot because it gets asked for quite a lot, to be honest. And it's in my book as well. And it's called The Warlords Sip Their Tea in Error. And it goes like this. The war on terror, it goes on forever, when it should be never. While warlords sip their tea in error, feeding us their nightmare dreams allows them to continue with their money-making schemes. Schemes, scams, Iraq, Iran, peacekeeping troops in Afghanistan, innocent civilians being killed every day. They have no rights. They have no say. Children being born with unbelievable mutations, the result of any nation with radiation contamination. Let the world know what is really going on. Talk about it, write about it, put it into song, show the countries being abused in the name of keeping order. Are just the pawns in a capitalist game, the American and British disorder. Thank you.
Very nice. And again, you say that one's in the book as well.
It is.
Right. So, again, anyone who's interested in Sean's work or finding out more about Sean, just throw the website out there again, outofthebagradio.weebly.com. I think I took that down correctly.
Nailed it.
Yeah, and I think on your website, it was there the last time. The last time I checked was that Freddy, as I call it, the Freddy Krueger jumper.
Sure, you have to look a certain way when you're on stage, don't you?
Yeah, you do, yeah, absolutely.
And you have a second stage.
Yes, so the whole world's a stage, isn't it?
It's all an act. That's what it is. I mean, look at these magi straights, whoever the heck they are, in their garb, telling us that we should be doing this and paying taxes and all the rest of it. How dare they? Who are they?
Exactly. And sure, we all know, well, maybe we all don't know, but some of us do know that in the likes of paying taxes and revenue, that if you make a phone call to the revenue when you ask the right questions, they get very irate. They don't like asking questions about the whole taxation system and, you know, where you're obliged to pay and all this sort of carry on. I think the boys over there at CLS, I think they done a phone. They made a phone call to the tax office there. Could have been a year ago. I'm sure you've heard of that one as well, Sean, whereby they rang up the tax office and they asked all the right questions and they were kind of passed from pillar to post, and the lady on the other end of the phone, she started to get very irate, and she wouldn't answer the questions because obviously she was reading from her pre-programmed script. But taxation, I think we've covered that before, and again, show me the contract I signed where I agreed to pay it.
And everything is contract law, and I'm sorry, I missed a fucking meeting.
You and me both. I don't know, you must have been around the back of the school shed smoking or something when that meeting was on.
Yeah, she was gorgeous. Anyway, listen, also, about me book, and thanks for allowing me to do a few poems as well today, because really that's who I am. I'm a performing poet who happens to have a radio show, and lucky enough to have amazing, amazing guests coming on every week. I have 2 radio shows now, by the way, Tuesday afternoons at 1 p.m, at midday. At midday to 1 p.m. for an hour. And my 3-hour show is on a Wednesday night, every night now for the last, over 5 years anyway.
Jesus, it's a long time. I mean, 3 hours. I know, well, when I say I know the preparation that goes into doing one show, and again, Alan does most of that. I just kind of turn up and have a few bits to say, and I chirp in every so often. So I mean, when you're doing the whole kit and caboodle on your own for 3 hours, I'm sure there's a hell of a lot of preparation goes into that. And you know, fair play to you for doing it. And even your poetry, I mean, it may not be everybody's bag, but there's a lot of what you say that can resonate with the everyman, if you know, for want of a better word.
Can I try something else? Because I mean, obviously you've asked me for political poems, yeah? Do you know? You have.
Yeah. So subconsciously, I think I did I?
Yeah. Well, you actually did.
I did, yeah.
So you said, what about today? So, you know.
Yeah, I did.
All the rest of it. Okay. So let's do what I do with my guests quite a lot, and that is, I have my book here. I used to do it when I just picked a poem out of my bag, but I've got a book here, okay?
Yeah.
And the poems start on page 10, and it go all the way to page 90. So without any favourite numbers or your girlfriend's phone number, your partner's, Barbara's phone number or whatever. Okay, no conditioning, let the universe give you a number between 10 and 90 right now, and I'll read that page out of the book. How's that?
Well, I'm not even going to do it. I'm going to just say to my darling dearest darling, departed, sorry.
Where's it gone?
Right, pick a number between 10 and 90. 17, she says.
17. Let me have a look on what's page 17. Believe it or not, that is the warlords sip their tea in error. Isn't that amazing? So you have to pick one, Steve. I asked you.
Okay, 34.
34, okay. Okay, this poem is, one of my most negative poems I've ever written. I won't explain it too much, but I'll say that people who've picked it, Steve, have had incredible luck, so they tell me.
Hey.
All right? And this is good feedback I've had for many, many years. All right?
Okay.
It goes like this. Oh, and just as a punk rocker, I'm very proud of this poem because Charlie Harper from the UK Subs has used it on his new album.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I'm a bit pleased about that. It goes like this. When you're down, the wolves move in packs and sharpen their claws. When you're down, the vultures smile sweetly and yet push you down more. It's easy to side with the favourite team. It's easy to realise someone else's dream when you're down. When you're down, whatever you say gets taken so wrong. When you're down, the shortest of journeys seems terribly long. It's easy to see how the horror begins. It's easy to lose when everyone else wins. When you're down. When you're down, reality seems to have such a bad taste. When you're down, all your ideas and dreams get thrown out with the waste. It's easy to forget about every tomorrow. It's easy to find all the hidden sorrows when you're down. There you go.
Very nice. Yeah, in a kind of a down sort of way.
None of my poems are longer than an advert because I know people's attention span. Oh, look what I found just there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know where you come from. I mean, yeah, that's I kind of enjoyed that. I mean, the bit where you say when you're down, like the vultures are kind of, you know, getting ready for you, and I think that is so in tune to exactly what's going on today, because when you see like people are being evicted from homes, they're threatened with foreclosure, there's all sorts of stuff going on, you know, people are committing suicide, and it does seem in kind of a weird sort of way that when you are down on your luck, and you know, when you would most likely appreciate a helping hand or someone to lift you up, that's generally it's not the case. Normally when you are down, it is because, well, the people are, well, no, it's not because, but when you are down, it does seem like the people around you are just kind of, they're just ready to pounce on you. Well, not everybody, I suppose, but, you know.
I mean, people get themselves in dark places, and they presume through their fear, through their doubt, through their, I suppose, what's the other one? Fear, doubt, and guilt. They're the three, I call them the blessed trinity, that education, families, and religions have instilled in us, so that we are easily malleable and controllable. Fear, doubt, and guilt. And people get into really, really dark places, and are fed their own paranoia to make them not strong and be able to stand up on their own 2 feet and be brave and strong and walk forward. Because life isn't easy at the moment, and it won't be until we all work together to make things better. At the moment, we're all policing each other and grassing each other up and slagging each other off, and even in the truth movement, if you want to call it a movement, it bloody isn't really moving very fast, is that people are slagging each other off and saying, oh, he's a shill and he's a this and he's a liar, and it's ridiculous. Let's go by people's actions and their words, and let's see what reality really is, and and that will highlight any that are shills or liars.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there, Sean, and only within the past fortnight, because, you know, we'd have different people, probably same with yourself, we'd have different people on the shows, and we shoot the breeze, and we just basically give people a platform. We listen to what they have to say, we throw them a few questions, and get their take on, you know, the bigger picture, so to speak. And there has been times, and over the past fortnight, we did get an email, and it was basically from someone who we don't even know. They were kind of saying that one of our previous guests is a shill, and, you know, the controlled opposition and all this sort of carry on. And again, Alan dropped them back an email and says, okay, well, that's fine, you're entitled to your opinion. Please offer proof of what you say. But there is so much of that going on. I mean, even the likes of David Icke. I mean, I don't know that much about David Icke. I mean, I know what he stands for. I know the information that he puts out. I know that a lot of what he says was instrumental in my awakening. But, you know, there's probably a couple of things that he says that wouldn't resonate with me. But I'm not going to go around slagging the guy off. But it just seems that the more you will have say one guest going after another guest, oh, he's a shill, she's a shill, it does kind of weaken the so-called movement, where, you know, and I'm sure the elites are looking down, going, the infighting has started, grand. We just watch for this to crumble.
I've heard so many rumours about me. I've actually been in places where I've heard people talking about me, not knowing that I was in the feckin' room, which was interesting. Look, Thomas Sheridan wrote the bloody forward to my book. You'll read his words about me in my book. Yeah. If anybody buys it, please buy it. But when they, you know, and yet he's out there telling everyone that I'm a fake, I'm a charlatan, that I was never in a car crash, I'm not in pain. He's a liar, and I don't know why he's doing that. So there's me going, well, there's proof. I'm not saying it because he's on a show or because of this or because of that. I'm actually saying it because he's out there rampaging lies about various people, and maybe if he's saying this about me, all the things he was slagging other people about to me were also lies. I don't know. Now I can't believe a word that comes out of his mouth, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, obviously that's not...
Well, you know.
That's not somewhere where I want to go at this moment in time. We've only got
5 minutes before the end of the show, I thought, well, look, people are going to be hearing Thomas Sheridan talking about me, so because they come back to me and told me that they have. And also he said, you know, anyway, we won't go into that.
Yeah, but look, if anyone's saying anything about Sean Maguire, I mean, obviously, come to Sean Maguire and ask him out straight, because I'm sure you're not going to hide behind his door. If someone wants to know something, you're just going to give him a straight answer.
Absolutely, but I wanted to say that because Vin, when I first met him, I was filled with so much shit about him that I went to Vin face to face and bawled him out over it. I mean, he must have been stood pinned to a wall. He's a big fella, and I'm small.
Yeah.
And there's me with my finger in his face going, did you do this? And I questioned the heck out of him. And I class him as one of the most incredible and personally, from my experiences with the guy, he's up there with the Ben Gilroys, and he's up there with the heroes that I have met here in Ireland. And I'm not just saying that because I'm licking his arse.
Yeah.
If he was an asshole, I'd tell him that.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I again, when we kind of came in contact with Vin as well, I think there's a bit of a hiccup in Skype there, Sean. I think I've lost you, have I, Sean?
I'm back.
Oh, you're there.
I can hear you.
Yeah. No, it's just it kind of, you know, the way it kind of sound broke up there. But I have to say, I mean, we heard of Vin a long, long time ago, and Vin was kind enough to invite us to his home, sat us down, gave us tea, and we had a good old chat. And I have to say, I'd be in agreement with you. Vin's a genuinely nice guy. I would have a lot of time for Vin. And, you know, but again, we've also heard people saying stuff about Vin as well. But, you know, I think sometimes when the infighting starts, it's best to kind of keep it under wraps, or at least push it to the side, because
No, I think we should absolutely go transparent on everything and then point the finger at the cunts that are saying, oh, did I say that? At the people who are saying it.
He's just shot. Said the C word. I can't even bleep it out. I'll have to bleep it out of the podcast.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter. I think it's French anyway. It's French for fool or something, is it?
There are people out there causing shite for people when they should cop the feck on and realise we're all in the shite and we all should be helping ourselves out of it.
Exactly. Anyway, right, Sean, we've got... what time is it now? It's 3 minutes to 9. So, again...
I would stop me from coming on your show again if you did that.
No. I just want to say, I want to thank you for making my job easy tonight, because I'm not an interviewer, I have to say. No, I'm not. I'm better as a wingman. Alan is the interviewer, and I'm happy to be the wingman. And I have to say, you really have, and fair play. You've made my job here easy tonight, because you're such an easy person to talk to, and you know, it's been a pleasure. So I just want to get that out there.
Well, and I will not call people runts on the air again.
Yes, don't. It's terrible thing to say. Anyway, Sean Maguire, outofthebag.radio.weebly.com is the website, and we have mentioned that throughout the show. And your book, of which you've been so kind to give us some poems. I'm not going to say read the poems. I'm guessing you probably know them all off by heart anyway.
Apart from the one that you chose, and I knew that one anyway.
Yes. So I mean, if people want to see more of your what? John Titter. John Titter. No, Steve, you are a lot better interviewer. John Titter, go wash your mouth out. But anyway, no, I mean, Out of the Bag Radio. outofthebag.radio.weebly.com is the website. So if anyone wants to get your book, I would urge them to do so, and not out of pity, but because there's a lot of good work in there, and you do spend a lot of time. As you say, you wouldn't write them every day, and I know from speaking with you, Sean, and from when I met you a couple of years ago, that a lot of stuff that's in your poems, it comes from the heart, and I think people should appreciate that. And you know, there's a lot of people writing crap that is getting sold and is on the stands, and hang on. Do you want to just... No, just you know what? For the last couple of seconds, just into the microphone there. Just...
I just wanted to know, if I ordered a book, do I get the bag as well?
You don't, but you have a lovely picture of the bag on the front, and I'll sign it for you, Barbara.
I'm going to order one now.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
with my credit card. Right. Anyway, we're just up to the wire, Sean. So I just want to say thanks a million again for just coming on and shooting the breeze with me.
Oh, well.
It's been fantastic, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Is there any closing statements you want to say, or?
I know, I just want to say that Ray Hall is on People's Internet Radio in a bit with Cotty, and he's got Billy Maguire on tonight, so it should be a cracking show.
Yes, it should be. So anyway, I think, well, Vin is on straight after us now, and unless that's changed. That hasn't changed, or it hasn't? No? I think Vin is on.
I think it's the other day, sorry.
Yeah. Okay, Sean, it's been absolutely...
No, Vin is taking a sabbatical.
Oh, is he?
So Ray, yes. So it is
Right.
Vin on Sunday, but it's with Ray, Cotty, and Billy Maguire, I think, tonight.
Oakley. Right, just hang on there for a second, Sean, and just want to say to everyone on the chat rooms there, I do apologise, I wasn't really paying much attention to the chat, but my wife was watching it there, and she was standing in for me, and she was typing away, and that's the crack. So very, very, very good evening to everyone on People's Internet Radio chat room and OYM Radio chat room as well, and we'll see you all again next week. This has been myself, Stephen George, in the hot seat with talking with Sean Maguire. So we'll see you again in 7 days. Take care.